By sunrise, every farm in Red Hollow Valley looked like it had been dragged under a brown ocean. Every farm. Except the one people said had already been destroyed by its owner. Jonah Mercer sat on his front porch with a mug of coffee in his hand. Boots dry, house dry, barn dry, while the valley below him screamed with sirens. 3 months earlier, those same neighbors had stood at his fence and laughed. They said he was butchering good hay ground. They said grief had cracked him open. They said no sane farmer cuts a working field into miles of trenches. Then the flood came, and the land Jonah had cut open became the only land in the county that knew what to do with water. The first trench began in June, on a morning so hot the barn swallows refused to fly. Jonah rented an old Komatsu excavator from a gravel outfit 2 counties over, a yellow machine with 1 cracked window, a smoking exhaust stack, and a bucket wide enough to swallow a kitchen table. He parked it at the north edge of Mercy Ridge Farm. 218 acres of timothy, rye, and bottomland pasture had belonged to the Mercer family since 1911. The place was not fancy. It had a peeling white farmhouse, 3 patched barns, and fence posts that leaned like tired men. But the soil was deep, the grass came up thick, and in Red Hollow, that made the farm worth fighting over. At 6:20 that morning, Jonah dropped the bucket into the first field and ripped a wound straight through the hay. By noon, the cut was 8 feet deep. By evening, it was 12 feet wide. By the end of the week, it ran almost the whole northern boundary of the farm. Like an open scar, people noticed. Farmers always notice when somebody does something strange with land. At first, they gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe Jonah was fixing drainage. Maybe he was laying pipe. Maybe he had finally accepted that the lower pasture stayed too wet in spring and too hard in August. But then he turned the excavator sideways and cut another trench. Then another. Then a diagonal channel across his best hayfield. Then a feeder cut behind the machine shed. Then a long, sloping ditch that ran toward the lowest bowl of the property. By the 3rd week, Mercy Ridge looked less like a farm and more like somebody had drawn a maze through it with a blade. That was when Denton Vale drove over. Denton owned Vale Ag Systems. 6,000 acres of leased corn, soy, and silage spread across Red Hollow County. He had more drones than hired men, more lawyers than tractors, and he had been trying to buy Mercy Ridge for years, because Jonah's farm sat like a missing tooth in the middle of his operation. Denton pulled up in a black dually that had never carried anything dirtier than a briefcase. He stepped out wearing pressed jeans and clean boots. Jonah was standing beside the excavator, checking grade with a laser receiver mounted on a survey rod. Denton looked at the open trench, then he looked at the hay lying ruined in windrows. He laughed once, sharp and empty. "Jonah, I'm trying to decide whether this is drainage or a cry for help." Jonah did not smile. The field needed opening. The field needed mowing, Denton said. "You missed first cut. You're going to miss second cut. And by the way, Mel Carver at County Trust says your renewal loan is already in trouble." That made Jonah go still. Denton saw it. He stepped closer. "Don't look surprised. Banks talk when land matters. You're behind on equipment, behind on taxes, and now you're renting an excavator you can't afford to run. Sell before you turn this place into a county hazard." Jonah wiped clay from his hands. "The farm is not for sale." Denton tilted his head toward the trenches. "Then what is it?" Jonah looked across the torn field, toward the dark line of Mercy Ridge rising behind the valley. "It's a mouth." Denton stared at him. Jonah planted the survey rod into the dirt. "When the water comes down from that ridge, this land is going to need a mouth." Denton grinned like he had just heard the final proof. "Your father was stubborn. You are something worse." He got back in his truck and left dust hanging over the driveway. By supper, half the county knew. By Sunday, people at the feed store were calling the trenches Jonah's graves. The joke spread fast because it already had teeth. Jonah had buried his wife, Ellen,
the previous winter after a 6-month fight with ovarian cancer. He had buried his father 3 years before that. He had been running Mercy Ridge alone, sleeping badly, eating worse, and pretending the bank letters on the kitchen table were just paper.
So when he started cutting his land apart, people found the easiest explanation. Grief had made him crazy. They were wrong, but not completely. Grief had pushed him into the attic. The attic was where Jonah found the cedar box. It had been wedged behind a collapsed stack of seed catalogs, tied shut with baling twine so old it broke when he touched it. Inside were tax papers, a rusted pocket watch, a folded county road map from 1933, and a narrow black notebook wrapped in oilcloth. The notebook belonged to his great-grandmother, Ruth Mercer. Jonah knew her only from one photograph in the hallway. A small woman in a plain dress standing beside a team of mules, one hand resting on the neck yoke, her face hard as chiseled hickory. Family stories said Ruth had saved the farm during the Blackwater flood of 1935. The official county history gave that flood 2 paragraphs. Heavy rain, minor damage, river improvements followed. Ruth's notebook told a different story. It described 5 days of rain, 3 drowned families, barns lifted off stone piers, and the Red Hollow Creek leaving its bed so violently that fish were found hanging in apple trees after the water dropped. But the last pages were not a diary. They were instructions. Ruth had drawn the farm from memory, with field edges, springs, ridge breaks, and old stone piles marked in pencil. Across the map ran dark curved lines, all feeding toward the same low bowl near the south pasture. At the bottom, in writing that looked more carved than written, she had left one sentence: "Open the ribs when the ridge starts roaring, and let the water show what the men from Richmond would not buy." Jonah read the line 12 times. It made no sense until he unfolded the county map. Ruth had drawn her lines along shallow depressions Jonah had never considered important. The old hollows, the seasonal runnels, the faint swales that looked harmless in dry weather and carried murder when the ridge shed rain too fast. Jonah spent the winter reading, not because he believed in buried treasure, because he believed Ruth had seen something the county had buried. He found a 1936 engineering report in the state archive that Red Hollow had never printed in its official history. It mentioned unusual black mineral stains along the Mercer Ridge after the flood. It mentioned that carbonaceous exposure of possible commercial interest. It mentioned that a private mining survey had been requested, then abandoned when the landowner refused to sell. The landowner was Ruth. Jonah took soil probes. He borrowed a transit from an old surveyor. He compared Ruth's hand-drawn channels to modern elevation maps. And slowly, the impossible thing became clear. Ruth had not left him a treasure map. She had left him a flood machine. A gravity-fed system of cuts that would catch water coming off Mercy Ridge before it sheeted across the farm, slow its force, split its volume, and drive it toward the lowest bedrock bowl on the property. The map was not pretty. It was practical. It asked him to sacrifice hay before the water took the house. It asked him to dig before anyone else could see the reason. So Jonah sold the hay rake, then the spare baler, then Ellen's old SUV, which hurt more than either machine. He used the money to rent the excavator, buy diesel on credit, and hire a retired grader operator named Wade Larkin for Saturdays because Wade could read slope by eye better than most engineers could read a screen. By late July, Mercy Ridge had changed shape. 3.7 miles of channels cut through the farm. The primary trench was 12 feet deep where it caught the ridge runoff and 9 feet deep where it bent toward the south fields. 4 feeder channels stepped down at gentle grades. 2 overflow notches connected the upper pasture to the central cut. At the end, Jonah carved a 46-foot deep basin into the lowest clay bowl on the farm. He called it the throat. Everyone else called it evidence. County Supervisor Marla Pike came out with a clipboard and 2 code officers. She stood at the edge of the basin, careful not to get mud on her shoes. "This is not an agricultural improvement," she said.
Jonah leaned on his shovel. No. It is an agricultural defense. It's an unpermitted excavation. It is on private farm ground. It is visible from County Road 18. So are Denton's manure lagoons. One of the code officers coughed into his hand. Marla's face hardened. The county is in final review on the Ridgeview Estates development. Your property line sits beside that corridor. If a child falls into one of these cuts, that is on us. If Ridgeview Estates goes where you're planning, Jonah said, water will cross those lots before it crosses mine. Marla closed her clipboard. You have until October 1st to fill these trenches or fence every foot of them to county standard.
After that, fines begin daily. October 1st, Jonah repeated.
Marla nodded. Jonah looked toward the ridge. That's late. She gave him a cold smile. For you, yes. The county laughed louder after that. Denton's men called the basin Jonah's swimming pool. A local radio host joked that Mercy Ridge had become the first farm in Virginia to plant ditches. At the diner, someone taped a hand-drawn sign above the pie case that read, "Ask Jonah where the water parks." Jonah saw it when he came in for coffee. He ordered black. He did not laugh. By September, the ridicule stopped feeling like noise and started feeling like proof that he might have lost his mind. The fields were ruined for the season. The bank had sent a notice with red letters across the top. Diesel bills sat unpaid.
The excavator rental company wanted its machine back. And the thing Ruth had hinted at, the black mineral stain, the men from Richmond, the reason beneath all the work. Jonah had found nothing. Just clay, slate, limestone, sweat. He had followed every line Ruth drew. He had cut through his best ground. He had gambled the last of Ellen's life insurance on a dead woman's pencil marks. And the farm had given him nothing back. On the last Friday of September, Jonah sat on the rim of the throat, with his boots hanging over the clay wall. The sunset had gone copper behind Mercy Ridge. For the first time, he let himself say the thought out loud. I might have done it wrong. The wind shifted. It came down the ridge cold enough to raise bumps on his arms. Then came the smell. Not rain exactly, a metallic smell, like stone struck by lightning. Jonah stood. Above the ridge, the sky was no longer blue or gray. It was black-green, bruised at the edges, turning in on itself. His phone buzzed. Emergency alert. Flash flood watch. Then another. Flash flood warning. Then, at 1:17 in the morning, the third message lit the bedroom wall. Catastrophic flood emergency. Move to higher ground immediately. The rain did not arrive. It attacked. Water hammered the farmhouse roof so violently that Jonah could not hear the clock on the wall. The yard vanished behind white sheets of rain. The driveway became a stream in 12 minutes. By 2 in the morning, Red Hollow Creek was out of its banks. By 3, the creek had swallowed the lower county road. By 4, the rain gauges that still worked were showing 15 inches in less than 10 hours. The ridge, baked hard from a brutal summer drought, refused to drink. Water sheeted off the slopes in broad silver curtains, gathering speed, carrying branches, fence rails, deadfall, stone, and brown foam. Denton Vale's land took the first hit. His engineered drainage system had been built for profitable seasons, not biblical ones. The retention pond overtopped, the pumps drowned. The north levee failed where a muskrat hole had weakened the bank and nobody's sensor had cared to notice. 140 acres of late silage corn folded flat in the dark. $1 million combine sat in 6 feet of water, with its warning lights blinking under the surface like trapped fireflies. Denton stood on the second-floor balcony of his brick house, calling people who could not reach him. Watching the valley he thought he controlled become a moving wall. At Mercy Ridge, Jonah put on his yellow raincoat and walked into the storm. He carried a spotlight in one hand, and Ruth's oilcloth notebook under his coat. The north field trembled. That was the only word for it. Trembled. Through the rain he saw the ridge water arrive as a brown moving shoulder, packed with branches and fence wire, coming hard enough to peel soil from the earth. Jonah stood beside the primary trench. For one long second, he thought Ruth had been wrong. He thought he had been wrong. He thought the water was too wide, too fast, too angry to be told where to go. Then the flood reached the open cut. It disappeared, not gently, not neatly. It fell. The front edge of the flood collapsed into the 12-foot trench, hit the clay wall, lost its forward bite, and rolled into a churning brown cylinder. The second wave slammed in behind it, then the third. The trench filled almost to the rim, roared, and began to move. Not across the farm, through it. Jonah ran along the bank, slipping twice, one hand out for balance, spotlight swinging wild in the rain. At the first feeder, half the water broke left exactly where Ruth had drawn the line. At the second notch, the overflow split again. The central channel took the main force and hurled it toward the throat. By the time the water reached the south pasture, it was no longer a sheet of destruction. It was a river with walls. A brutal one. A dangerous one. But contained. The farm did not drown. It breathed. Dawn came dirty and slow. The rain softened to a gray drizzle. Red Hollow Valley lay under a wide brown skin of floodwater. Denton's fields were gone. Ridgeview Estates, the luxury development Marla Pike had defended all summer, sat beneath 4 feet of mud and insulation foam. The county road had buckled. Propane tanks floated against tree trunks. A school bus rested sideways in a soybean field. But Mercy Ridge stood above it. The farmhouse porch was dry. The barns were dry. The topsoil between Jonah's channels remained in place, striped but not stripped, bruised but not gone. News helicopters came by mid-morning. From above, the farm looked impossible. A green and gold island inside a drowned valley, cut by dark veins of controlled water that all led to the same deep basin. The county stopped calling the trenches ugly. By noon, they were calling them emergency flood infrastructure. By evening, they were calling Jonah lucky. But luck was not down in Channel 5. Truth was. The water in the 5th channel began to fall faster than the others. Around dusk, Jonah noticed it while checking the banks for slumps and washouts. The flood had scoured the bottom clean with a trench bent around an old sycamore stump. The excavator bucket had left that bend rough. The flood had polished it. Millions of gallons had dragged sand, gravel, and broken limestone across the floor of the trench like a saw. Where the limestone skin had been, there was now a fresh black shine. Not mud, not coal. Something slicker. Something with flakes that caught the gray light and threw it back like dull silver. Jonah climbed down the bank. Cold water pushed against his thighs. He braced himself with a shovel handle and reached toward the exposed seam. His fingers came away black. But the black did not smear like soot. It glinted. He drove the shovel point into the seam. The stone broke in layered plates, heavy and smooth, leaving a dark satin streak across the steel. Jonah stared at it, heart thudding so hard he could feel it in his throat. Ruth's notebook had not said gold. It had not said money. It had said the water would show what the men from Richmond would not buy. Jonah wrapped 3 chunks in a feed sack and carried them to the house. He put them on the kitchen table beside the foreclosure notice. For the first time in months, the paper looked smaller than the dirt. The roads were gone. So Jonah took the only route open. He strapped the feed sack to the back of an old 4-wheeler, cut across the ridge trail, rode through washed-out gravel and downed limbs for 22 miles, then convinced a road crew to let him cross a temporary bridge on foot. By late afternoon, he was standing in the geology wing of Allegheny State University, soaked to the knees, asking for Dr. Helena Cross. Helena Cross was not the kind of professor who enjoyed surprises. She had spent 15 years consulting for mineral companies before deciding she preferred rocks to executives. She looked at Jonah's muddy clothes, then at the feed sack on her lab counter, with the expression of a woman already annoyed. Then Jonah opened the sack. Her expression changed. She pulled on gloves, then glasses, then turned on a lamp bright enough to make the black plates shine. For 20 minutes, she said almost nothing. She scratched the sample, waited, snapped a flake, held it against a white ceramic street plate. Then she looked at Jonah differently. Where did this come from? My trench. How deep? About 38 feet below the north pasture, under limestone. How long is the exposure? I can see it for maybe 60 yards. It may run under the bend. Helena sat back. This is crystalline flake graphite. High carbon. Very clean from what I can see. If your seam is continuous, this is not driveway rock, Mr. Mercer. This is battery-grade potential. Jonah did not understand the words all at once. Helena saw that. She slowed down. Graphite is what goes into anodes. Electric vehicles, storage batteries, defense systems. The United States is desperate for domestic supply that isn't controlled overseas. Most farmers would never see this because it sits under rock and soil. Your flood just did a century of stripping in one night. The room got quiet. Then Jonah asked the only question that mattered. Is it enough to save the farm? Helena's answer came without mercy and without softness. If the deposit is real, it can do more than save the farm. But you have a problem. Jonah already knew. The bank. The bank, she said. The county. Speculators. Anyone who hears about this before your rights are locked down. Mineral value attracts men who can smell paperwork through concrete. Jonah looked at the black flakes on her gloves. How long do I have? Helena checked the county closure notice on her phone. The courthouse reopens Monday morning. Jonah looked at the clock. Friday, 5:38 p.m. He had less than 70 hours. Back in Red Hollow, Denton Vale was not thinking about graphite. He was thinking about humiliation. His own farm lay drowned, his drones lost, his combine ruined, and every local news station was showing footage of Mercy Ridge sitting dry in the middle of the disaster. By Saturday morning, Denton was in a temporary county office set up inside the high school gym, speaking to Marla Pike behind a row of folding tables stacked with bottled water. Marla had lost more than roads, she had lost the development deal. Ridgeview Estates was underwater, on camera, and voters were asking why the county had approved luxury homes in a flood corridor. Denton leaned over her table. Jonah Mercer is in default. Marla's eyes moved toward him. Denton lowered his voice. County trust files Monday. Once foreclosure starts, he is finished. But, you can make it cleaner. Cleaner. You already called his trenches emergency infrastructure. Put it in writing. Declare Mercy Ridge a temporary public flood control reservoir. Condemn the land for safety. Pay assessed agricultural value. The bank gets paid. Jonah walks away. The county controls the site. And then the county leases management to my company. I restore it. I absorb it. Everybody wins. Marla understood exactly who everybody meant. She tapped a pen against the table. That would look aggressive. Denton smiled. It's a crisis. Aggressive looks like leadership. By Monday morning, Red Hollow was steaming under a sick, humid sun. Mud baked on fence wire. The creek still ran high. And 3 vehicles crawled up the Mercy Ridge driveway. Denton's black dually came first. Behind it came Marla Pike in a county SUV. Behind her came Mel Carver from County Trust, looking pale and overdressed in a wrinkled suit. A deputy followed because powerful people like witnesses when they think the ending is already written. Jonah was on the porch, the same porch that had stayed dry. He had changed into clean jeans and a blue work shirt, but his boots were still stained with black mineral dust. Marla stepped out with a folder in her hand. Denton looked almost cheerful. "Morning, Jonah," he said. "I have to admit, those ditches of yours make quite a show." Jonah looked at the folder. "Is that the part where you say thank you?" Marla cleared her throat. "Mr. Mercer, due to the unprecedented flood event and the demonstrated public function of your excavation network, the county is designating Mercy Ridge Farm as a critical temporary flood control asset." Jonah nodded slowly. "Temporary asset. Under emergency authority, the county will take control of the property to preserve public safety, manage retained floodwater, and prevent further hazard." Mel Carver opened his own folder with shaking fingers. "County Trust has also initiated foreclosure proceedings as of 9 a.m. Your loan delinquency, late fees, and equipment liens are now due in full." Denton stepped forward. "You should have sold when I offered. You made a mess, Jonah. Now smarter people have to clean it up." Jonah looked past him at the trenches. Water still moved through them, lower now, steady and dark. Then he smiled. It was not a big smile that made it worse. "Mel," Jonah said, "what time is it?" The banker blinked. 9:12. "Then check your wire desk." Mel frowned. "What?" "Check it." The deputy shifted his weight. Marlowe looked irritated. Denton stopped smiling. Mel took out his phone. His thumb moved across the screen. For a moment, there was only wind and the distant rush of water in the channels. Then the color left his face. Jonah reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out a folded confirmation sheet. At 8:41 this morning, County Trust received a wire for $1,480,000. That covers the land note, the equipment note, penalties, legal fees, and the ugly little inspection charge your office added last spring. Mel's mouth opened. No words came out. Denton snatched the confirmation sheet and read the center line. Blackline Materials. Jonah took it back. Blackline Advanced Materials, domestic battery supply. Their attorneys are very punctual. Marla's eyes narrowed. Why would a battery company pay your debt? Jonah looked at her. "Because I own more than hay ground." While Denton and Marla had been planning a paper ambush in a gymnasium, Helena Cross had made calls of her own. One went to a mineral attorney. One went to the State Geologic Survey. One went to Blackline's acquisition director, a woman who arrived by helicopter Saturday evening, walked the length of Channel 5 in rubber waders, and asked Jonah one question before making an offer. "Do you own the mineral rights free and clear?" Ruth Mercer had refused to sell in 1936. Jonah's grandfather had refused to sever the rights in 1962. Jonah's father had refused again when gas companies came through in 2009. Mercer's had been stubborn for 100 years. For once, stubbornness had appreciated. Blackline signed a 50-year mineral lease with strict surface protections, full water rebuild obligations, an 8-figure signing bonus, and a royalty on every ton of verified graphite concentrate removed from the property. The farm note died before the courthouse opened. Denton read the document twice. His jaw worked like he was chewing glass. "You hit a mine." "No," Jonah said. "The county hit a flood." Ruth hid the answer. Marla tried to recover. "The emergency designation still stands. Your property captured public floodwater. That creates a safety obligation." Jonah nodded. "It does." He stepped down from the porch and held out a second document. "My attorney agrees. Since the county has formally designated my private land as a temporary public flood control asset, you have activated the emergency use clause under state law. That means the county is responsible for maintenance, liability, security, and compensation for retained public water." Marla stared at him. Jonah continued. "Based on surveyed volume, Mercy Ridge is currently storing roughly 5.6 million gallons of county floodwater. Emergency impoundment rate is $9,000 per acre-foot per day, plus labor, inspection, and hazard control." The deputy looked at Marla. Mel looked at the ground. Denton whispered, "You have got to be kidding me." Jonah shook his head. "No." Denton, you wanted the county to call my farm a reservoir. He pointed toward the channels. Now it can pay rent. Marla's hand tightened around her folder. You cannot bully the county during a disaster. Jonah's voice stayed level. You came here to take my land during one. That landed harder than shouting would have. For the first time since he arrived, Denton looked uncertain. Then anger filled the gap. He stepped close and jabbed a finger at Jonah's chest. You're still a broke hay farmer who got lucky because some water ran through a ditch. Jonah looked down at the finger, then back at Denton. Those ditches saved your workers' lives when the East Levee failed. Denton's face twitched. The water that did not cross my farm slowed before it reached your house. The route you laughed at became the route your valley used to survive. Jonah leaned closer. I was broke. I was wrong about plenty. But I was not lucky. I listened to the ground before it had to shout. No one moved. Finally, the deputy cleared his throat. Mr. Vale, Supervisor Pike, I think we ought to head back. Denton wanted to say something final. He had built a life on saying final things. But there was nothing left that could change the mud, the wire transfer, the mineral lease, or the black seam shining under Jonah's flooded field. So he turned and walked to his truck. His clean boots sank to the ankle on the way. Over the next 4 years, Red Hollow changed. Not all at once, not cleanly. Disasters never rebuild like brochures say they will. But Mercy Ridge became the center of the work. Blackline did not strip mine the farm. The lease Jonah signed made sure of that. The company built a narrow access road, reinforced the existing channels, fenced the basin, and used underground mapping before removing a single truckload of ore. Every water control improvement had to make the farm safer, not just the company richer. Jonah paid off every local contractor who had waited through the bad months. He funded new culverts on County Road 18, after the county admitted the old ones had been undersized for decades. He hired Wade Larkin full-time to supervise the channel system, because Wade still trusted a slope stake more than a touchscreen. When Marla Pike lost re-election, no one was surprised. When the Ridgeview Estates parcel was condemned permanently as floodplain, no one mourned it except the investors. Denton lasted longer. Insurance fought him. Creditors circled. Leased acres disappeared. And 2 years after he came to Jonah's porch with a deputy, Vale Ag Systems sold its drowned bottomland at auction. Jonah bought the lowest 800 acres in cash. He did not plant corn. He did not build houses. He broke the drain tiles, pulled the worst fences, and let the creek have room again. Willows came first, then cattails, then ducks. Then, one spring morning, a pair of sandhill cranes stood in a field Denton once bragged could produce record silage if nature would just get out of the way. Jonah watched them from the tailgate of his truck. The black dust was still under his fingernails some days. The farm still carried scars. The trenches did not disappear. They became part of the place. Grass grew down their shoulders. Water moved through them in heavy rain. Children from the rebuilt elementary school visited every April to see how a field could be cut apart and still be more whole than before. They asked Jonah if he had been scared. He always told the truth. Every day. They asked if he knew the graphite was there. He shook his head. Not the way people mean knowing. Then he would show them Ruth Mercer's notebook, the pencil lines worn soft under glass, and he would tell them that land keeps records longer than people do. Some records are written in courthouses, some in ledgers, some in the way water bends after a storm, and some are buried under rock until pressure finally exposes them. Everyone had called the trenches graves. They had been wrong. They were not graves. They were lungs. They were proof that a farm can look ruined to anyone who only understands harvest. They were proof that old knowledge is not dead just because it arrives without a logo, a drone, or a clean pair of boots. Ruth Mercer had left Jonah a map. The flood had left him a seam of black stone. But the real inheritance was neither of those things.
It was the nerve to cut open what everyone else told him to preserve, and the patience to hear what the ground had been saying all along.